Welcome back. We're discussing the new doctrine of the U.S. Army, which for the first time gives nation building the same top priority as warfare. Joining me is Lieutenant General William Caldwell, the commander of the U.S. Army Combined Arms Center, which issued the new manual this week. As we get back to our discussion, I should mention this manual, which took 10 months to prepare. You were telling me a little while earlier that it's a historical collaboration as far as you're concerned, that it brought together so many different elements: the Army, the Navy, the various forces, NGOs, governmental organizations, and even 17 nations that are allied to the U.S.
And that's correct, Riz. We have never, in the history of the United States Army, ever done anything of that collaborative of a nature. And their input was absolutely invaluable. Even organizations like Interaction, which represents all private organizations and non-governmental organizations, was very clear in telling us how to refer to them, how to talk about the separation between what they do and we do. And we took all their input and incorporated it into the manual.
Was there a danger it diluted what the U.S. Army is, or was there, I mean, when you say some benefit, how was that collaboration beneficial?
Well, the benefit, what we wanted was something that anybody could pick up other than the United States Army too. And it would be a manual we could all refer to and talk from. So we had to get a lot of the Army jargon, the language that we use in the United States military. We tried to take all that out and make it so that even a civilian who has no real knowledge of the United States military could pick this up and read it.
Okay. We have Hussein on the line from Saudi Arabia joining us with a question. Hussein, thanks for being with us. What would you like to ask? Hi, go ahead.
Hello, General. I would like to ask a question that you are saying that American troops are very lethal, they are very expert in combats and other things. But then why you have got 32 bases around Middle East, and then you are still afraid of Iran, which is a small country, and they have only just never fought a war, means they have never attacked any country. Still you are afraid of them when you have got so much power and so much forces. What factor is that which makes you afraid of them?
All right, well, let's ask the general. First of all, are you afraid of Iran? But Hussein was saying that, you know, why this fear of Iran?
I would not say that our president has a fear of Iran. If in fact he wanted to take military action for whatever reason would be required, he knows that he has that force and capability to do so. But I think what's more important is we're trying to solve things diplomatically. And that always is the best solution. Military force should be an absolute last resort. So what we see happening today is that people are working very diligently to find political solutions, either dealing directly or indirectly with Iran. And I really believe that's the right way to go.
Let's get Ali on the line from Ireland. Ali, what would you like to ask?
Hello, sir. How are you doing? My name is Mohammed Ali Khan, and I'm calling from Ireland. Right. So I'd like to ask you, first of all, what's really the story between Pakistan and America? The story, this kind of small war getting the border in the northern western province of Pakistan. And secondly, I was just really shocked, like, what so far America has done, like, because I'm myself a very liberal kind of person, but I have everyone has his own opinion. But I would say the way America is doing things is just people start hating, like, you know what I mean, like they don't really love that kind of fancy things anymore.
Ali,
that's what I'm.
Yeah, let me ask the general then, because basically that's one thing that I guess, is this new manual an effort to win back hearts and minds?
No, you know, it's interesting. Somebody asked me that for the first time the other day. And I said, when we started this about a year ago, that never even entered our thoughts. We wrote it strictly to help us, the United States Army, understand what our responsibilities will be for the next 10 to 25 years out there, and to better prepare our soldiers for that.
How important is it, though, for you to have that moral leadership, which America used to have and seems to have lost around the world?
You know, as I listen to our political debates out there between our two candidates, they've been very clear that is an important thing, and they are concerned about it. But again, when we sat down to put this manual together, it was more done in a fashion that we tried to look at what we've done for the last 6 or 7 years in Iraq and Afghanistan, and ask ourselves, as we look to the future, what do we need to be prepared to do? And that's why we wrote it.
Let's get Hans on the line from Paris. Thanks for your patience, Hans. What would you like to ask the General?
I'd like to ask the Lieutenant General, earlier on he was talking about the American Army now exporting understanding and trying to resolve the aspirations of downtrodden people throughout the world, as far as democracy, etc., is concerned, and the basic needs. I would like to ask him, in the view that the American army hasn't had a great deal of victories since Korea through to Vietnam, or even in in Afghanistan or in Iraq, what is the American army doing about the aspirations of its own citizens?
Okay. What do you think American people expect from its army?
Well, I think the American people expect the ability to fight and win decisively if we commit overwhelming military force. And we have that capability to do that.
Now, America, I mean, obviously went into Iraq, it was a very quick victory, so to speak, but then it's been a disastrous post-victory with so many American troops killed. Why has there been a lack of next step thought given to this?
And that's the one thing we've been looking at, the purpose behind this manual. What we have recognized is that stability operations, what needed to take place, being done all the time, but really have taken place after Saddam fell, wasn't in place like it should have been.
Now, General, I know you were saying it was taking the lessons learned from Afghanistan and from Iraq. Weren't these lessons that should have been learned from Vietnam, for example, and even the overthrow of Manuel Noriega in Panama?
No, you're right. And I was there in Panama. I still remember my boss turning to me, a division commander of the 82nd Airborne Division, saying, how are we going to get the police functioning? How are we going to pick up the trash? And I turned to him and said, sir, we don't do that in the United States Army. But in fact, we end up being responsible because there's not the capability within the rest of the U.S. government to do that. And so as we have looked at what's happened in Iraq and Afghanistan, we now have taken for the first time ever that we can really find and have codified in writing, made a doctrinal manual that would drive change in our Army, the requirement for us to have that capability and understand the importance of it so that we don't forget about it and that it's up in the forefront anytime we're going to put military force anywhere in the world.
But one of the issues is dealing with vulnerable countries. A lot of people want to define vulnerable countries, and I think we had an email on this from Barbara Sonia in Missouri in the USA, who says, define vulnerable corners of the world and who makes the definitions. The American people don't trust the military now because of the policy of the current administration. Vulnerable areas could very well be defined as oil or water related. I mean, there is the possibility for abuse.
You know, it's a political decision entirely when the military is ever committed and used outside the United States. It's not the military's decision. And when and how that's decided is based on whoever is the President of the United States in collaboration with our Congress. So it's not something we will decide.
Although generals have been coming out and speaking, considering what's been going on in the past 5 or 6 years in the US, I mean, are generals having to become politicians to do their jobs effectively?
No, they don't need to. It's very clear. We're there to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America. That's our role. And that's the lane that we need to operate in. But our policymakers have been very good about asking for our opinion. And from what I've seen...
Do they listen, sir?
Well, from what I've seen, they have. And if somebody has been uncomfortable with... Now, it's ultimately their decision. You explain your position, you lay out the risk and the cost, and then the political decision makers make those decisions. It's not for the military to make the ultimate decision. And if we disagree, we have the ability to resign.
What happens when you have a situation like Iraq and you go in on the premise of weapons of mass destruction and none are there and there's no accountability?
Well, what I would tell you there, a decision was made to go in and remove Saddam from power. We did that. The United States military did that. And then right now, this the part that we have found to be very challenging. This is that post conflict phase. They used to call it, or they do call it, phase 4. What we're trying to say is stability operations has to take place throughout the entire period of time you're committing military force for anything.
Well, General Caldwell, we're out of time. I thank you very much for being with us.
Well, thank you very much for having us, Riz.
Thank you, sir. And thank you for being with us. On the next show, we look at the crisis in the American economy spreading to areas that affect almost every other country of the world. Join us for that. We'll see you next time.